Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 78 of Freshly Pressed. Today we have with us Dennis and Drew from Homebrewed Comics. Welcome to the show, guys.
How you doing?
Thank you.
Awesome. In your own words, please tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and how you got interested in comics in the first place. What's your comic origin story?
Go ahead, Drew.
Okay. Comic origins. I've been into comics since the early '90s. I think what really got me into it was, I think, pretty much X-Men animated series. I think like 1992 time frame, and it that kind of coincided with a comic shop called Hall of Heroes in Elkhart, Indiana, where I grew up. Just started in the town there, so like me and my dad would every weekend go buy comics every single weekend, through the 90s and through that whole collector's boom. Um, so fast forward to like my adult life, I think I hit like 35 and kind of realized I went all this time and didn't really make any comics yet, so I started writing. And I've always been kind of a writer, since college and things like that. So I actually got my first script going and a couple short stories. And then my first publisher called Snowy Works was born, and kind of had some setbacks in there, worked with some artists that didn't work out, and then kind of pivoted to like doing anthologies. So that's kind of what I've, published quite a bit over the years. Got mostly sci-fi, horror, and Caspian Porter is kind of like my main character that I've written the most about. So yeah, I think I've published close to 40 books under Snowy Works. Not just my own books or anthologies, but I've published a few other properties as well for other creators. So.
Fantastic. Dennis?
Yeah. So I'm a lot older. So I started into comics. Gosh, probably it was early '80s. First comic was Amazing Adventures. It was a reprint of I think X-Men #5. I just remember the Blob was on the cover, and being like 5 years old, I couldn't get over the Blob. Like he just blew my mind.
Okay.
But I always read comics. I couldn't afford them, so that was one of the things is couldn't afford them. And I would read my brother's best friend. He would buy a ton of them, and whenever my brother and him would leave the house to go play whatever they would do, or go to the movies, I would sneak in the room and then read my brother's friend's comics, just because I couldn't afford them. I'm a little kid, and started drawing just because it was fun. I just was blown away by all these characters. And one of the things it did was it increased my vocabulary. So like Colossus, for example, I couldn't barely
Mhm.
say his name Colossus, but I remember going to the dictionary and looking up spelling it and reading the phonetic and trying to be like, what does this mean? And it kind of helped my reading. One of the bigger parts of it, at least when it came to my artistry, was where I grew up in New York was not a very friendly place. They did not like my family or my ethnicity. So going outside was always a danger when I was younger. After a lot of abuse and getting jumped and all that kind of stuff. I stayed indoors. And one of the things I did indoors was to keep busy was I drew comics. I read comics. I sat next to my grandmother. And it was one of those things where I couldn't go outside, fear of getting hurt, but I would stay indoors, read comics and draw next to her every day. She'd watch her soaps and I'd sit there and watch the soaps with her and I would draw. I have at least 10 volumes of like early 80s of just characters I drew. Started drawing
Wow.
back then, and that's actually when my character Celestial Knight. I drew him. I want to say the earliest rendition of him is 1987. I have it in my issue one where you see my original drawings of him. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've been drawing since that early on, and then I'll be honest with you, I drew all the way up to about college, and then I stopped drawing in college, and that was really just because kind of got into girls, and I met my wife later on, and back then, different from now, um, you were a nerd. Like it was really frowned upon. Like you don't even tell people you read comics. Like you just
Yeah.
again was not cool. You're not cool. And at the time, I was really into girls and trying to be the cool guy and working out and all that kind of good stuff. Met my wife, same thing. I didn't want to. She knew I drew. She knew I could draw, but she didn't know what to the
Yeah.
extent I could draw. Didn't draw for a good 20, 25 years. Just kind of buried it. And I only draw here and there if it was like on a card, I would draw something, or when we had kids, I started drawing for them. And then I just happened to get on Instagram one time about 5 years ago, and I was in a funk, and my wife said, "Why don't you draw? So you always seem to be in a better mood when you draw." And I drew. I threw some things on Instagram 5 years ago, and met some cool people in the indie comic community. Hooked up with one creator, did a couple of covers for him, and it kind of took off. And then from there, I met some really great people. And then yeah, I got into the indie comic community. Met Drew through another publisher, and kind of here we are.
That's fantastic. I do. I think I've seen you do stuff on art on YouTube. So not YouTube Live, Instagram Live. I
Yeah,
think. Yeah,
yes,
I've
sir.
seen your live. So yeah, I love
Thank you.
those. They're kind of. I love watching artists doing that because they are kind of like my ASMR. I always like. I always feel very
Wow.
calm.
I've never
Yeah.
thought of it that way, but I could totally get it. That's funny.
Yeah. Amazing. Tell us a bit about. Let's go deeper into the story for the Celestial Knight and versus Caspian Porter. What's the campaign about? And yeah. Well, can you tell us a bit of the background without spoiling it?
Yeah, I'll give that a shot. So I think the challenge with taking two characters from two different like universes is how do you cross them over without it being like terribly stupid, if I should say. So the interesting part was like in Caspian Porter, my first issue, the character, it's set in the future. He's on the run from his employer because he did something incredibly stupid with their property. He's in a spaceship, takes damage, and he gets sucked into a wormhole, right? I took that opportunity to, well, what if he goes somewhere before the normal storyline, but for this issue he goes into the universe of the Celestial Knight. So that was how we were able to cross our characters over. Um, from here, it's just all I'm gonna say is they battle. There's a little surprises there here and there, a lot of witty humor, and a little bit of mistaken identity, I guess you could say. So
Nice,
yeah.
nice. Do you want to add to that, Dennis?
Yeah, I think one of the things in when you work with another creator, especially on your own IP, you got to have a real strong trust with that the creator is going to represent your character well, and that it's that talent is there. So for me, it was relatively easy to say, yeah, I'd love to work with Drew, only from knowing him in the past and reading what he's done. Um, love his writing, love his stories. I mean, there's a sense of adventure in everything he does, and a
Yeah.
really strong character development. So for me to hand over my character and the trust in him was almost a no brainer. But just to see what he did is a lot of fun. I asked him for the latest version of the script the other like a week or so ago, Drew, and just reading it just felt really cool. Like like he's got it, he gets it. Um, when I wrote my book and my character, it's one kind of lane. And then when you see this kind of, another adventure for your character, which you've been sitting in my brain since, 86, 87, and have that same flair and that same feel of fun, but in a different way, it's really
Mm,
refreshing. So,
mm,
I hope, when people come in and read the story, back the book, back the campaign, they'll get that sense of adventure. I know they will, but it's just really cool to see. Imagine Sarab, your character someone else takes it and totally kind of opens a different way you thought about that character. I
Yeah.
think that's where I'm at with how Drew did it. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty damn cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that's a fantastic feeling. Sorry, Drew, what you were saying. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, like, your character wasn't my character, and I had to read your book about 8 times before I could get it right. It was a challenge.
I will say, it's funny about that because I just finished issue 2. It's actually at the letter of now and plotting issue
Mhm.
3. When I go back to look at issue 1 of Celestial Knight, the most dialogue doesn't come from the main character. The most dialogue comes from actually a news reporter reporting on what's happening in the issue. So yeah, Drew, that's funny you mentioned that because I could totally see like how much I'm giving you. A lot of it's stuck in my brain and it still has to come out. And that's why
Well,
issue 2 you see a lot and issue 3 you see more, but good
yeah,
point.
yeah. I think that's why, like, when I was writing the script, I had you fill in the dialogue
Yeah,
for page 3. Just as a way to like let you have a part of it, but it was
yeah.
kind of like me going like, I don't know how to make this page work. So
Awesome.
It's almost like writing like really high quality fan fiction because like and it's nothing to like it's actually quite hard to write good fan fiction because
Very.
like I started my writing fan fiction because these are the characters I know, these are the characters I know what's the right essence of the character, and like
Yeah.
you want to capture that bit correctly, and then you can expand that character into something new, into it, give them a new dimension, and like that's what's really powerful and really cool about like somebody new coming in and treating that character in a different way while keeping its essence the same. So
Yeah, I think that's the important word you've used. Because I was searching for it when I was talking about it, is right, is keeping the essence of the character. That's tough. And especially when I know for myself, it's all locked up here. And slowly I'm letting the story out. And I remember doing my first issue, my editor, she kept asking me, she's like, but what about this? But what about that? And I kept telling her, like, it's a 3 story arc. Like, those questions will be answered in the 3 issues, but you got to let it develop, on its own accord. But it's like, like I said, it's great to work with other creators. It's great to work with a creator that one gets the essence of your character and two can create an essence that's different from yours that actually opened up different avenues of way to think about your character. So I think that's really cool.
100%, 100%. What about your own character, Caspian Porter, Drew? Like, did you think like obviously you guys worked on this and like Dennis, were you able to extend Caspian Porter's character and give it a new treatment in this book as well?
for this issue, we had, other than the cover, Dennis did the covers. We had Juan Fletes. He's the line artist of the first series of Caspian Porter, and he came on and did the pencils for CK versus CP. Dennis swoops in and he applies some fantastic inks to this and is doing the colors as well. So I do enjoy the coloring work on this. I think Dennis like totally blew out, with the color scheme, especially the space scenes in this, like just a completely different way than I've seen from other creators that I've worked with. So that's why I'm really excited to see how he finishes out the rest of these pages and some of these other action scenes. So I'm pretty excited here.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is like, and Drew's probably sick of me bringing it up. Like I kept hitting him about like, hey, I'm inking over Juan's, line work, and I'm coloring it my way. And the best way I can describe Juan, whenever I see Juan's pencils, I think of Neil Adams. His style reminds me a lot of Neil Adams. It reminds me a lot of Sal Buscema, like that kind of stuff. My style is not. My style is very, I started reading, in the 80s. I started drawing more towards the 90s. So mine has a really strong 90s influence.
Mm,
Image artist has a very strong. So taking that and, inking someone who's very, more classic, and then trying to make it my own and be true to the characters. Like I really kept when I did Caspian Porter, anytime I would do his face, I tried to leave it as close to Juan's as possible because I love his expression work. The line
yeah.
work for his expression work is fine. And it keeps true to that character. People know that face from Juan's work. But then I started adding my flair in it, whether it was the coloring or the shading or tweaks on just the simple thing. I had sent a page over to Drew, and just the jetpack. Like I spent 20 minutes trying to figure out what kind of exhaust would come out of the jetpack. Like
Yeah.
what color would the exhaust be coming out of the jetpack? Would it be lines? Would it be a beam? It's simple things like that. Like most people wouldn't even care about or notice, but that's something I'm looking at on that page, being like, I think the exhaust would look like this. It would look really cool in space like that. And I want it to come out as three jets instead of one big, swooping line of exhaust. But that's what my challenge, and I'm sure he's sick of me saying like, "Hey, I colored it this way. Do you like it? If you want me to change it." But that to me, like I'm looking at it, it's a different style, and I'm adding my style to it. But I want to be true to that artist because I know if that was me at the end of the day and someone was inking over me, once I got that product, I know myself and I'm a control freak. I want to make
Mhm.
sure that it stays true to my style and still has that, myself, that Dennis Valencia kind of flair to it. So same thing. I want to be true to one. I want to make sure that, I represent him well, Andrew well, and their character well. But it's a really cool blend, and I'm hoping I'm not even gonna say I'm hoping. I know everyone will love it because I really poured in different aspects of my coloring to it, and I really wanted people to see it. And I think once the Kickstarter starts and Drew has those pages up in there, you're gonna really gotta get a sense of like where we're going with this and how like dynamic and epic this small little short story is. But I'm really trying to give it a big feel of it's not a short story, but it's in such a big experience. So
Amazing. No, I think I've read earlier issues of Caspian Porter, and I think the character looks definitely much more bulkier in this cover. The first thing
yeah,
that came to my mind when I saw this cover was Rob Liefeld.
yeah.
That's
Hey,
that's the first thing that popped in my head.
listen, I'm a '90s artist guy, so like I always say like Liefeld, Silvestri, McFarlane. So, like you take them all and you kind of crumble them up in a ball. And that's kind of where a lot of my style comes from. So yeah, good,
Yeah,
good call. Good call.
amazing, amazing. Do you have any variant covers and any special rewards planned for this campaign?
Yeah, we actually have one of our co-creators, Chris Saloff, is working on a variant for us. Other than that, we're gonna do like foil variants, metal cover. Dennis is doing some signed, remarked editions. Shoot, I could tell you here. What else? We have some catch up tiers. So we were going to offer my first volume of Caspian Porter along with CK1, just to give people a chance to catch up on the characters if they haven't already. We also have tiers so since we have four different creators on our team, we're going to do our first issues of each of our properties as one lump tier as well. So
That's fantastic. Amazing. And you said these are like three issues, or this is like a standalone, like one shot
yeah, this is just
crossover event?
yeah, it's a standalone one shot.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. So, you like after this, do like both of your series branch out into their own like Celestial Knight as well? Like, does it branch out into its own arc after this?
Yeah. So right now, issue one is out. I have issue two with the letterer, and it should be done, by done printing in June. So that's be issue two. Issue three is in the works. So I've already been plotting that, my beats and how I do. I draw and I plot and I write the Marvel method. So I already have my beats. I just got to start hitting it. One of the things we're doing is and if you've had Chris or Casey on or Dan on, we're doing coupons in these issues and these Kickstarters. So if you backed all three Kickstarters, crit, if you direct Chris and crit number 8, and if you did Dan's Bigfoot Notes Karate 3, Dan and Casey, and back their campaign, and you back ours, you get 3 coupons. I do have coupons here. So these are the coupons. It's very similar. And Sarab, I don't know if you remember Image Zero. You would get a coupon, and you can get Image Zero. These are the coupons. So if you back
Uh,
each campaign, you get the coupon. And what you do is this gives you eligibility to get Homebrewed Zero, which is an exclusive hollow foil cover. It's 36 pages. There's a story in it from myself, from Chris, from Dan, from Drew. We're bringing in another guy, Mo, who's worked with us in the past. So it's 36 pages, all original content, all from our original IPs. And that'll be, if you back all three, get all 3 coupons, and then you can get that exclusive issue. Drew, I don't remember what the print count was on it. It wasn't that big. I
Yeah,
do know because it
I
was
think
exclusive.
yeah, I think we're going to limit it to 200
Mm.
copies, just something completely exclusive just to for people that buy the books that get the coupon, get that experience of the chase.
Yeah,
Yeah, like Dennis said, like each creator is creating their own short story that is original using our characters. So like I just finished writing an 8-page Caspian Porter short.
Awesome.
So yeah, trying to
that's
be
lovely.
unique yet ripping off Image completely.
I mean, we are all product of pop culture, isn't it? Like we have grown up with these things, and I absolutely love, like I said, one of my early forays into comics was by X-Men, and one of the things that we used to get at the back of every X-Men issue, at least in India, like they had a different printer, like they used local printers, but they had like these like forms that you could send, like they were like letters to the to the writers and things like that, and they came in like prepaid postage forms, so you
Mm.
could like they were like right at the back of the comic, and I always wrote letters to Chris Claremont and Jim Lee. uh, I,
Nice.
Were they
I
ever printed? Do you ever see them in the letters column or anything like that?
No, unfortunately not. But but I would have loved that.
Yeah, yeah.
They're my idols, both of them. So yeah, yeah. And like they always had some of these like coupons, like you said, for like the next issue, or like like a bigger story arc, and things like that. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's lovely to have, it's a bit of nostalgia. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that, and like I think I mean, you've probably seen a million Kickstarters, but finding something different and original, a lot of Kickstarters are always the same kind of content or same kind of tiers. I think this is the first time I've ever heard of something that's kind of cross-brand that brings in all our books to one. And then the fact that you're getting something very exclusive at the end of it is really, really cool. And then
Yeah,
the cherry on top, at least for me, is that it's an Image homage, which, again, tickles my funny bone.
I do
definitely.
want to say, like, you know, by the time our campaign starts, Crit and Bigfoot Knows Karate will be over. So if anybody else is new and jumping in and they want to get that Homebrewed Zero, we will have a catch up opportunity for everyone to still get that. So it's not done. You can still get the books. So
Very
Mm,
cool.
very nice. Yeah, that's amazing. And I think like it's because your bit like comics is obviously a collector's items, right? Like they could vary anywhere between ash cans, things that you like, either read and throw away, to like something that you keep holding on, be like, you know, something that's very dear to you. Like creating something really exclusive like that is probably a fantastic way to go. Because
Speaking of Ashcan, my friend, we do have an Ashcan.
lovely.
The magic word. Yeah, we have a preview ash can. It is on Homebrewed Comics, if you want to order yourself a copy. But a small little preview. The pages on the inside are in black and white, so you can see Juan's original pencils in there. I inked over them, the first draft. But yeah, you
Lovely.
can pick yourself at least a preview copy of, CK vs. CP, special limited edition ash can. Pretty cool.
and we
Fantastic.
only printed 75 of those. So once they're
Bang.
gone, they're gone.
Lovely. Lovely. Are they like as an add-on, or like are they coming out of some
Actually,
work
it's
twist?
it's actually exclusive to our website. It's under the store link on the website
Mm,
and under physical comics. Yeah,
yeah, that's
it's
fantastic.
the it's the
Oh
first
yeah,
option
that's the one.
there. Yeah,
Yay. That looks fantastic, by the way.
yeah.
It's really
Thanks. I've
cool.
always kind of wanted to release an ash can. This is actually my first ash can, so glad we got to finally tick that box.
That's amazing. That's amazing. No, I think as comic readers, like what this is like an ultimate dream to create your own comic, and ashcans are usually the first step, and then you
Yeah.
polish your art and go into making something bigger. So yeah, that's lovely. Cool. I think we've come to that point of the show where I'll put you guys on spot. Um,
Well,
I
bring it, Saurabh.
My one of my favorite things to ask is what's your top five pop culture things that you like? Could be anything like a movie or TV show or anything that really inspires your work, or like a comic or anything from pop culture, that you love so much that yeah, you keep going back to it, and it kind of inspires your work in a larger way.
Okay, so you said top five things pop culture.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go mostly with movies because I really enjoyed movies growing up. Like Goonies is the number one for me. Star Wars, hands down, Star Wars because I'm probably the biggest on Star Wars. Only the first three Star Wars. Everything else is
Here
only
we
three
go.
Star Wars. Three Star Wars movies.
So you're not cool with Disney's program of Star Wars right now.
No, not really. Jurassic Park's big for me. I'll go back to X Men just because that really launched me into comics. Um, uh, she's
It's not
maybe
even
go with
funny how many people got into comics because of early 90s X-Men, like the
oh yeah,
80s
it
and
was such a
90s. Yeah,
Yeah,
huge, it's a
it's
yeah.
huge time.
crazy.
Last thing, gosh, I guess I'll go with like Indiana Jones. That's like one of my go-to. Put that movie on in the background type things.
No, those are all great choices, to be honest. Like, love all those properties. And like, the good thing about them is the rewatchability. Like you said, you put them in the background, they're always there. Yeah. Dennis?
I'll throw it like I'll swear by everything Drew says. Like check, check, check. Absolutely. Like can't go wrong with it. I'm gonna throw two in there that are one's obvious and the other one's a little bit off the beaten path. The one and maybe it's just me. I'm all into Godzilla movies, like old school Godzilla, like anything Godzilla. I know there's an Asian man in a rubber suit in it. I totally get it. I cannot get enough of old school Godzilla. I have bought in so many of the movies, DVDs that translate to English. They're so corny and stupid and fun. But if I have a chance to have anything in the background, an old school Godzilla movie is always on. That's one. Number two, and it's a little weird because most people don't feel this way. I'm really into true crime, and I'm really into fun murder, like like Only Murders in the Building or The Resident on Netflix. I love that stuff. I love humor when it comes to murder. I love that stuff. And when it comes to true crime, I watch so much true crime. My wife thinks I'm going to murder her. We always joke like it's all I'm doing is thinking of different ways to get away with murder because all I watch is true crime. And she's like, it's messing with your head. And she's always like, it's going to bring you down. You'll need depressed. I go, no, 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 no. This is why I love true crime. Because at the end of the day, or murder mysteries, they catch the bad guy. That's it. And it goes back to comics and it goes back to the good versus evil. I go,
Yeah.
at the end, I can watch the first 48 and they're in Oklahoma and they're, arresting, trying to get this drug dealer that killed somebody. At the end of the day, they catch the bad guy. And that's all, it feels so good. And it goes all the way back to my childhood of good versus evil, reading comics, getting the bad guy at the end. But I watch so much murder and so much like true crime. But that's one of my guilty pleasures. I don't know if I consider it a pop culture thing, but Godzilla and true crime, that's in my background all day.
Funny you say that. Like I have been on my true crime streak for like
Yeah.
last month or so. Like I watched everything from like 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 all 3 or 4 seasons of Confessions, like Confessions of a Killer tapes,
Yes,
from like
yes,
Ted Bundy to
yes.
Jeffrey Dahmer to
Like BTK. BTK throws me off for a loop every time I watch like a serial a serial arm.
yeah, yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like it's a rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah, and it's so and I mean I find it like the forensics just so many the forensics part of it's so interesting. Like there's so many things where I'm like, this is so obvious or it's not so obvious. And then according to the law, which way, how does it's spun and where, you take the law into it and then how it affects the family. It's just so much to it and so many layers to it. That
Yeah.
I'm literally watching Murder. So one of my favorite murder series is Murder in the Heartland. I've probably watched seasons 1 through 5 over 10 times. I know who, like, after you watch the first time you've seen it, you know who the killer is, but I'll
Yeah.
still keep watching it just because of the production values there. The story unfolds, the way the director let the story unfold is something I always
Mm.
like appreciate of how they let this mystery unfold. They're just it's just one of those things. I can't get enough of it.
Totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. And then, yeah. And going back to what you said, Drew, I think like having something like Indiana Jones and Star
Yeah,
Wars and all those kind of things kind of mixes it kind of reflects in your work as well, right? Like because then you have with Indiana Jones comes like a sense of adventure, like you said,
yep,
Dennis, and
Mhm.
then with like Star Wars, it's like the whole like space opera kind of themes where like it's a world that's constantly getting expanded and
that's a good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, amazing. Uh, good stuff. Cool. But we're like I usually try to keep this quick, so we're coming close to time. But like before you guys go, I would love for you to pitch the book to the audience and take the stage, do the spiel, talk about the book. Why should they back this campaign? Why should they follow it? Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, we're doing a crossover book. So it's two different characters, two different universes. Caspian Porter is kind of your like Han Solo type character. I've even heard someone tell me he's kind of like Corbin Dallas from The Fifth Element. Um,
That's
and
awesome.
then, so he's a character from the future, and it's a very kind of space. Um, for the series, it's kind of like mixing, Star Wars, Land of the Lost, some time travel in there, and dinosaurs and things like that. But for this book, he takes a divergent path while he's getting sucked into a wormhole and meets the Celestial Knight. So it's I think it's cool to see them battle it out and duke it over something stupid, and really interested in seeing how the art and coloring all come together at the end. So I'm really excited about this book. It's going to be 20 pages plus 8 pages of extras, art, and anything else we're going to pack in there, from now till it gets published. Yeah, so homebrewedcomics.com. The link is on the front homepage there. So go ahead and follow the project. We are launching on June 25th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be Dennis and I, along with our homebrewed buddies, will be doing a live launch. So we'll probably run that for a few hours and just bring on some friends and just talk about books and the project and things like that.
Fantastic. Dennis, you want to add something to that?
I think one of the cool things when you do a collab, his character has a sidekick named Kirby. For those who are well versed with the Caspian lore, Celestial Knight has a sidekick named Norman. So it's one of those things when you get those two together, that's where the fun, that's where the quips, that's where the laughter kind of comes through. And that's
Yeah.
something that this book brings. It's always the little things when I think of stories. It's always those little nuggets in there that kind of make you smile, chuckle, or give a smirk. But just Drew knocks it out of the park with his storytelling, that sense of adventure. Um, a lot of fun. It's just a fun read, and then you have our little characters on the side that really kind of spice it up. So, really excited about it. First crossover of this magnitude because this is actually a very big, at least in my book, a massive for such a small story. It's a massive step for me in my career. But really excited to get this launched out on the 25th. Like I said, live launch party. Love for everyone to join in, jump in the chat, even jump on the stream. Homebrew Comics will be running it. I will be at Heroes Con in was it 2 weeks from now. So I will have all this, CK, CP, paraphernalia out there. Whether it's to sign up for the live launch, guys, if you can, go to Kickstarter, sign up for notifications. I think Drew. I think we're at 58.
Yep.
By launch time, we would love to be at about 70. But yeah, please sign up. Come take a
Okay,
look at
you're at
what we're
59.
yeah, outfit. There we go.
All
Let's go.
right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
There we go. But yeah, I'll be at Heroes with a ton of stuff. I'll have posters to give out. Love for you people to sign up for notifications. I will have the ash can to be purchased. I'll be doing. I was hoping to be doing remarks for our characters too, for those who are buying our books. So a lot of fun stuff. And really excited about this project. Really super pouring everything. As far as I've been drawing for so long, but this is a different lane where I'm inking, learning inking, and learn to color. And I've discovered I really love coloring. I really think you could do some inking, but when you get the coloring right, it's perfect.
That's fantastic. I signed up, so
Yeah. Okay.
totally sold on
Yeah.
it.
Yes. Thank you,
Yeah,
Saram.
yeah, action, humor, adventure, bring it on,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sign you up.
cool.
Very cool.
Thanks for making the time and coming on the show, guys. Really appreciate it, and I hope the campaign is a big success. Yeah,
Let's stay in
Yeah.
touch, dude.
Yeah. Thank you so
yeah.
much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Saram.
See ya.
All right, bye.